For those of you who may not know what that is, it's, measuring your beats per minute and then spending a specific amount in the different zones. And the training that I've subscribed to has 6 different zones, zone 0 through 5. And we've been logging the minutes and many times hours that we're spending in each zone. And it's made a huge difference on the way my clothes fit, the way I feel, the energy I have, among other things. And that is something that in the past I didn't really appreciate. I remember spending time saying I was working out, but being proud of not sweating during that time that I was working out. I've learned a whole lot about calories in, calories out, calorie deficits, as many people call it, and the way your metabolism works and the need to stress or push your heart in order to get that muscle to be a stronger one. And as I spend more time focusing on longevity, I'm learning that that's really about your muscle strength, your bone density, your endurance, and how strong your heart is. Now, what does this have to do with exiting? The fourth pillar of the 6 centers of doubt is health. And I find so many people exit and then they're trying to figure out health because they got more time now. They don't really have an excuse on why they don't prioritize eating quality foods or spending their time committed to some exercise regimen that's going to create a more healthy version of themselves. I just wonder if that's too late. I wonder if you put it off and you do irreparable damage, and then you get to the place where you're ready to focus on it, but that focus ends up being a little too late. Now, you may be saying, well, Jerome, that's still in gloom. Of course, there's time. I'm still breathing. And I can't argue with you on that point. But what I can say is today's the day. Over the past few months, I've watched a lot of people pass away. The one that was probably most prevalent or most poignant for me was the player that committed suicide from the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I don't know the young man, but this is another aspect of health that I think so many people miss out on. Mental health is something that I think is directly impacted by our physical health, but many people don't prioritize that. And so as we move into this holiday season, I just want anybody out there that's listening to know that these are some of the most intense periods of mental health stress that you'll experience. Whether it's seeing family members and them remind you about how you haven't achieved what you set out to achieve, or you're not able to provide for those that you care about in the way that you feel like you should. There are a lot of instances where we create pressure for ourselves that in many instances isn't actually real. Now, you may be shaking your head, you may be shrugging your shoulders, you may be questioning if that's actually a thing. And I can tell you it absolutely is. I've watched so many founders isolate themselves and then have the walls fall in on them as they've gone through this process of feeling like imposters, feeling like they aren't as successful as they need to be, feeling like the world is judging them or ostracizing them. And the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, is most people don't care. Most people don't care how many people you've impacted. Most people don't care how much money you have. And in fact, I would say I don't really believe anybody cares how much you have if it doesn't have a direct benefit for them. And so as you scroll through social media and see these highlight reels, as you walk into that dinner with the people who you don't spend much time communicating with, but you feel obligated to spend time with because of the holiday, that you not give them control over the way you feel about yourself, that you not give them control over the way you think about your life. Because the reality is, when the holiday is over, you'll be right back where you were working on whatever project that you decided to dedicate and devote your life to. Fortunately or unfortunately, those folks aren't going to be there with you. And so I think it's so important, so important for you to have that reality check before you go in. Now, we were fortunate enough to attend a group therapy session at AWOL Fitness here in Greensboro. And it was a beautiful gathering. I would say there were probably 35, maybe 40 men in between the ages of probably 25 and 55, maybe 60. And I've never been to a group therapy session, and I didn't really know what to expect. But when I walked into that space, I could feel safety. I could feel a place where you could be open and honest about how you felt. And while I didn't speak or share what I've been going through or what has been impacting me, I was able to hear from people who were dealing with everything from suicidal ideation to thoughts of hurting others because of wrongs that they experienced when they felt helpless, to people struggling with their finances. And the list just kind of went on with, the issues that people were facing. And as I look across the world and it seems to be becoming crueler and colder, I just wonder, where is the space for the people who couldn't come in that room on that evening? Where's the space for the people who are looking for an outlet, looking for a place where they can express themselves, looking for a place where they can get potentially some guidance? And I don't know where that exists. I know there's a huge stigma related to mental health. I know there's a lot of challenges as it relates to getting support for people. They see barriers, they question whether or not it'll work for them. And I absolutely understand why they feel that way. And I wish I could sit here and say that I had the answer that they needed in order to get the support that they could use, but I don't. What I know is that all of the things that those folks are dealing with, have dealt with, I've heard from various founders on their journey. Whether it was the exit happened and they don't feel like their life matters anymore, to they feel guilt around the financial resources that they have and they don't know what to do with it, but part of them wants to get rid of all of it, to the hoarding and knowing that, hey, if I invest in myself, life will get better. But if I invest in myself, does that mean something's wrong with me? Does that mean that I can't do things on my own? I'm not independent and I'm interdependent, or I'm dependent on other people? And what does that actually mean for my ego? I get it. I get that you're resourceful. I get that you've been able to accomplish and achieve things that most people didn't think you were going to be able to do. And for many people, you just brute force your way through it. You press on, you impose your will on the situation to get the outcome that you desired. And for many people, that feels like the only way to get things done is bully ball. And I'll tell you that I used to feel that way back when I was a younger person. As an athlete, your ability to impose your will on your opponent is one of the things that makes you very successful. And whether that's through strength, whether that's intelligence or technique, you have all of these options in order to get to the outcome that you desire most. And I'm just noticing that many people just continue that path as they ascend to different levels of success. And I believe there comes a point where that no longer works, where you have to shift from imposing your will into moving into a space of influence, where you move from control to that space where you're shepherding people and guiding them along the way. Now, many people get so frustrated and tired and they decide to shrink their organization because it gets bigger than they can handle by themselves. Had a conversation this week with somebody who was contemplating, well, should I go back down? Should I make it smaller so that I don't have to trust people through delegation and empowerment in order to move the organization forward? What I'll tell you is when your business revolves around you, your business is less valuable. The quicker you can make yourself irrelevant is the quicker you can create an organization that has transferable value. And that transferable value is the thing that future buyers of your company are looking for. Now, there's a lot of places I could go from here, but here's what I would say. If you're out there and you're going into the holidays with dread, then we should talk because I know for a fact that this is where most people take their eyes off the road and either drift into a space where they're behind the eight ball when the new year starts, or they just put the car in the ditch, right? They create utter chaos because they are uncomfortable with the situation that they're in. I've learned that the situation is never actually as bad as we make it out to be. In fact, I think we have some pretty creative imaginations that put us in a space and a place where we catastrophize something. We feel like we can't get back from it. And the reality is, as long as we have our health, everything else is figure outable. Now, it may not be comfortable. You might not enjoy the process of going through that, but it's figure outable. And with a little bit of help, you probably can get through that faster. Many times we feel like we cannot do it because we are stuck in our reference point. But bringing somebody in that's got a different vantage, somebody who's got the experience from working with other folks, somebody who understands what you're actually seeking and can help you with the gift of foresight, because more than likely they've seen somebody go down the path if they haven't gone down the path themselves to help you get what you desire most. For some people, that's us. That's exit to excellence. For other people, as a therapist, some need a coach, some need a personal trainer. We don't really care who it is. All that we care is that you have the support that you need. So don't go into this holiday season alone. I know this is where people just say they're going to relax and they're going to figure things out. I don't know anybody that actually figures anything out sitting isolated by themselves. And if I will go on to say, I actually see people just get things exacerbated when they're sitting around with people who are joking, but making comments that are hurtful towards them, as many people experience when they're at home. I need you to know that your dreams should be real. And your progress towards making those dreams real is what's going to make you into the person that you need to become. You becoming that person is what's going to make the difference on the face of the planet that you were placed here for. And the quicker that you accept that and believe that, the faster you can move out of the pain that you feel, the questioning that you have, and eliminating that doubt on whether or not you can have the success that you desire most. Your dreams should be real. We'll catch you on the next episode.